forget to subscribe.
Three things you must do on every first date. So I'm here in Sydney CBD. As you can see, there's the beautiful harbour, Sydney Harbour Bridge, the Opera House in Circular Quay. Beautiful sunny day. I think my camera picks up how blue the sky is. There you go. But anyway, before we kick it off, I'm Dave, and this channel is dedicated to giving you no BS, novel dating advice for the modern man. Top link in the description, check out my website, and sign up to do some coaching with myself. So these are three basic things. I know it's basic advice, but these are three things that you really should be doing on every first date. It's really important. Let's just get straight into it. 1, keep in mind that you can go on what is a first date, and you can both agree that it is a first date, and it can be verbalized that it is specifically a date, right? She could know it's a date, you obviously know it's a date, and then somehow during that date you can become friend zoned. She can say, I'm not exactly sure what I'm looking for these days, and you can find yourself being friend zoned quite easily if you make it a little bit too platonic and a little bit too friendly, and you don't make it very clear on that date that this is a date. You can't just verbalize, okay, it's a date logically, which men often do. Women are very emotional. I think we all know that. So therefore they need to be aware that it is a date, and you need to keep reinforcing that. Number 1 is when you first meet up with her, I recommend you going for the hug, maybe even a kiss on the cheek, and then you grab her hand to lead her towards wherever the date location is. Generally, you will be going out for dinner or something like that, or coffee or something very simple like that. Going in for the hug, holding the hand while walking towards there, what you do is you're gauging immediately where her mind is at. And if she's like okay with the hug, which I think most people will be, but she won't hold your hand or let you give her even a peck on the cheek, then you're aware that she's uncomfortable getting physical with you, and there's going to be a lot of trouble later on if you were to try to take her home. It's a good little bit of information that you can gauge real early on a date. And myself, after dating, I don't know, countless women, there has been times where I have gone in for the hug and tried to hold her hand, and the girl has rejected the hand, rejected the hug. There's no physicality at all. If I try to touch her lower back, just guiding her, walking towards the date location, she's even palmed me off for doing that as well. And I've actually left before the date has started at that moment. If she's palmed me off and doesn't even want to hold my hand or won't let me hug her, and it's like, there's something, it's not always you. You can't always, a lot of men, they think, okay, well, I need to use this method or strategy to fix this, escalate, and then I'm going to fix it. No, well, if she's not going to do even the most basic of things with you, how many dates until she warms up to you? I don't know. It could be a million dates. I don't know. And it could be just a waste of your time to even getting involved with her. Maybe she's got some sort of a neuroticism, or maybe she's got some childhood trauma, or maybe there's some sort of baggage from another relationship. And if you're like, she won't even let you hold her hand, and she doesn't justify it. She just doesn't say, oh, look, it's too early, and, you know, a bit later on. And she doesn't verbalize and have the communication skills to explain why. Often I would actually just leave before the date's even begun. Keep in mind, I don't have the obligation to pay for her date and look after her if she's not even interested in me. Have some boundaries and get that information early on. That's one. Two, while you're on the date, keep in mind what you're doing on the first date is you are seeding the rest of the date. You're not sitting there on the date just talking about TV shows and sporting things and whatever topics you guys want to talk about, just random topics that don't push or move the date forward. So keep in mind that you should always be seeding what is going to come later on. And what's going to come later on, hopefully for you on the first date, is that you either go back to her place or she comes back to your place. Now, if you are on the date and you are not bringing that up in any way, shape or form, you're not even bringing up information like, are you working tomorrow morning? Are you working tomorrow? Do you need to go home tonight? Do you live with your parents or do you have roommates? Do you share a room? Do you have your own apartment? Trying to figure out whether she lives alone. And all of that information is very, very valuable because, you know, if she's working first thing in the morning and she lives with her parents and she needs to get home at 10 p.m., nothing's going to happen that night, and then you can change your strategy later on. This information is very important, and during the date I also recommend basic stuff. Hygiene. If you're eating, close your mouth. Make sure you brush your teeth. Make sure you don't have bright yellow teeth turning up to the date. Have a haircut. Have a shave. Hygiene and just basic civility on the date. Don't be rude to the staff in front of her. Don't be rude to people in front of her. Just basic things that will give off red flags to her. You don't want to be doing. That's 2. 3, you need to start, if she passes 1 and 2, you need to start seeding something that you can do back at your place or her place tonight. The classic one is we'll go back to my place for a drink, watch a movie. These are the classic ones. I'll leave it up to you guys to innovate and speculate in the comments what those things could be. But there's a whole range of things that you could be doing at your place or her place tonight after the date. And you should start talking about those things. What type of drinks do you like? Oh, you like red or white wine? Oh, I've got a bottle of red wine at home. What type of movies do you like? Oh, funnily enough, I've got that movie at home, my place. We'll watch that after dinner. Basic stuff like this. If you are not getting the information to see if you can even take her home after the date, and you are not even bringing up that in conversation towards the end of the date, when you're like, okay, let's go back to my place, she's like, what? I'm working tomorrow. Or what? We didn't even talk about that. And then it becomes a shock. It's something that you guys haven't really talked about. It's not even really it's not that smooth at that point. Doesn't mean that it won't work. Let's just say you avoid step 1 and step 2, and then and step 3, and then right at the very end you're like, okay, let's go back to my place. There still will be a little bit more friction there that there needs to be. So that's 1, 2, 3. And final thoughts. Now, you're looking at this thinking, okay, so the first date you're going to try and pull. Yes. Every full first date you should try to pull. I think it's important to understand that even if she can't come back to your place on the first date, you've at least made it clear that this is a proper date that could end up at your place at any moment, and she's not going to hold any sort of animosity towards you for that. If you try to force her and pull her back aggressively, then she's going to have animosity towards you, obviously. But if you just, okay, let's go back to my place, and you seed it, and you're at least trying to lead it back to your place, she's not going to be like, oh my god, first date, you tried to pull me. She's at least going to know not to friend zone you because you're not that type of guy, right? And that's what we discussed in the very beginning of this video. So I think this is basic stuff. A lot of the guys that do live coaching with me, we will get numbers out here and we'll get them on dates on immersion, and we'll run through a far more complex version of this that has a far higher success rate. It's been tested thousands of times by myself, and it's a lot more complex than this, but this is just basic stuff for YouTube. So if you want to learn some cold approach or get some dating advice with myself, I do online coaching anywhere around the world, and live cold approach coaching in Sydney. See you guys in the next video.